Welcome to the podcast with a purpose, with information and content meant to motivate, aspire, and inspire you. From romance author and host, Shamira E. Fleming, but you can call her M.A.I. Welcome to an experience. This is the Purple Charm Experience. Hello, my tribe. Welcome back. As you know, this season I'm stepping into something new. I'm calling it Doc Life, navigating romance research in real life, where each week I'm bringing you micro episodes designed for not only your busy life, but mine as well. And each week you'll get a motivational quote, my sip of the week, a quick topic or flash story, and of course, a little bit of Prince history because the purple one always inspires my creativity. This season is all about what it looks like to balance dissertation work and the authorship in real life. The wins, the challenges, the lessons, and the joy. If you're building a degree, a book, or a dream, these episodes are for you. So let's grow, sip, and shine together. So let's dive in. This week, episode 5 is about designing your creative operating system. Now, before we jump into the episode, you know I like to start each episode with a motivational quote. And I like to call this my quote of the day. And my stands for to motivate, aspire, and inspire. So today's quote comes from Robert Collier, and it states, success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. I want to take a moment to reflect on this because and how this resonates with me and my doctoral journey in creative life, because there are things that I have to do in my life, especially with this doctoral degree, is you can't do all things at once. I have to split this huge dissertation project down into attainable goals, doing small efforts every day. I want to also emphasize, that it's important to create systems that allow you to make those small efforts possible. And so for me, it's taking 20 minutes or 30 minutes to sit down and work on a particular part of my dissertation. Sitting down for 15 or 20 minutes and writing creatively, working on my books that I have several books that are in the works right now. It's taking, 10, 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 to sit down and write what I can to at least touch those pieces of works in progress so that I'm making an effort to get those things done. But it's creating a system to make sure that it's possible for me to get them done. And so I want to remind you through this quote to remember that it's the repetitiveness of being able to show up for yourself consistently, to make those small efforts, to do those small things, to make it possible for the big project, the big grand scheme, the big picture to come into fruition in the future. So I hope that this quote, my quote of the day, resonates with you like it did for me. And hopefully it allows you to put the systems in place that you need to create the small efforts that allow you to show up day in and day out to become successful. Now, I also like to share with you my sip of the week. And so this week, I want you to grab, for this episode, grab your favorite sip, your favorite drink, coffee, tea, whatever it is that you like to sip on when you're listening to podcasts, particularly this podcast. This week I am sipping on the mango protein refresher from Dunkin' Donuts. It is one of those things that just, I enjoyed it. I have been sipping on it before we started this particular episode, and it's just, this sip is just a little reminder that creativity flows best when I'm centered. And so I have to have that one thing that keeps me going. And that refresher today gave me the pickup that I needed to do to record and to show up for myself. with those little small efforts. So now diving into today's episode topic. Today I want to talk a little bit about designing your creative operating system. And I got the definition from Google that a creative operating system refers to a platform that enhances creativity by integrating technology with design and marketing tools. And when I think about that, I wanted to talk about some of the ways from a analog perspective and some technical technology type systems that could be used, how I have or design my own personal creative operating system. So for my ideas, some of the places where I go for my ideas, I'm an old school girl. I still love using my notebooks. I have plenty of notebooks where I keep jot down ideas and things like that. I have one right here with me now. Of course, it has prints all over it. I have my standard planner, calendar. I have to write these things down. And that's just how I am. And I believe I use voice notes. I also use the notes app in my cell phone. Some of the digital tools I use are Canva. I'm a huge user, huge advocate for Canva because I enjoy using it. I also use Creative Cloud and Adobe. So these are some of the places where I jot ideas, I create places where I create, and they have been huge support for me in terms of getting my ideas out and being able to create a system for myself where I can show up and put out content. And the places where I organize, I categorize my creative, academic, and business tags using my planners, using Notebook on Microsoft. I love the Notebook app, particularly for my dissertation work. And when I first started this program, that was one of the places where I would take all of my notes, and during class, it was just easier to do that than to walk around with a bunch of notebooks. But I realized that I'm still one of those people that like to thumb through things, and I like to turn pages and touch, my work, and I need to be able to write things down. For execution, a realistic weekly rhythm for me, what that looks like is being able to have my day planned. Each and every day, I know exactly roughly what I'm going to be doing. I wake up at 5 a.m. I work out for 2 hours. It's about an hour and a half to 2 hours, about an hour and a half. Some days, Wednesday is my 2 hour workout day, and I am ready for work by 7:30. After work, I get off around 4:30, 5 o'clock. After work, I'm working. Fixing dinner, or I'm working on my paper, or I am meeting with my doctoral chair, my dissertation chair. But I, for the most part, know how my week looks, and I am able to execute on my weekly tasks without issue. Even through the day for my actual work day, I'm an avid user of my Outlook calendar and categorize things for my to-do list. I have tags for what I have to do, what's routing, what's in process, what needs to be followed up on. Love the use of those tabs in Outlook, and I create notes for myself so that I stay on point and that I stay on top of the things that I have that I'm working on. The ways that I check in with myself is in the morning and in the evening. In the morning, when I do my workouts, I love to have my motivational prayer sessions or whatnot, what have you. I typically just have like motivational music playing in the background or jazz playing in the background while I'm working out. And then in the evening, I also do sleep meditation or, the meditation to wind down from the day. And that also helps me to check in with myself, think about where I am, center my spirit, because throughout the day, you're dealing with all different types of people. You take on all different types of energy. And for me, it's important for me to be grounded at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day so I can sleep well and start all over and do it all over again. And so those are the ways that I am able to check in with myself. I am a huge proponent, advocate for prayer and just or even if you don't believe in a particular religion or God or whatnot, I think it's important to have some sense of self and having a connection to some sort of higher power so that you can connect with the positivity in that you need to be around you in order for you to get these things done. And so, and that's what works for me. It doesn't have to work for you, but I'm just explaining what works for me and how I use this as a moment at the beginning of the day and at the end of my day to, set the tone for the middle of my day by reflecting on the ways in which I check in with myself positively at the beginning and at the end of the day. So, I want to share, a personal moment when I realized I needed structure to balance my dissertation and work and podcasting, writing, and life. I think when I decided that I wanted to start to incorporate the things that I was doing before I started my doctoral program back into my day to day life. Because one of the things that I realized when I started this program is that it was tough trying to balance all these things. And one of the things that I'm noticing now that it is tough to balance all of these things. And it's one of the reasons why I stopped doing it at the beginning of my doctoral journey because I just couldn't do it all. It was just too much to handle. Think when I started this season 5, a couple weeks ago, as I was making the decision to go for it, I realized, yeah, you're going to have to put together a framework to be able to do this. Otherwise, you're not going to be successful. And what I did was I sat down with my notebook. I thought about some of the topics that I wanted to discuss because it's something that I've been wanting to do, but I don't think it would have been as meaningful or as an impactful as it would be or could be now that I'm at this stage in the doctoral program because I still had things to learn, right? So now I'm at this point in my journey where I have things that I can share that I want to share. And I felt like it was the perfect opportunity for me to create the structure, bring in the framework that allows me to be able to balance all of this stuff. And I'm going to be quite honest with you. The use of AI as a tool for setting up structures for myself and frameworks and outlines has been so helpful because when I started doing this on my own years ago, these things didn't exist in this way, and or at least I wasn't using them in this way. The use of AI has taken a lot of the burden off of me of having to go through and frame out my life. I use it like it's a personal assistant. I'm like, okay, I need you to uh, give me my schedule for the day, and it creates my schedule, and I upload it as a Excel spreadsheet and upload it into my calendar, and boom, I have my calendar of events. So what I need to do for the day, from 2 to 3 you work on from 7 to 4 you're working on your at work, from 4 to 6 you're working on your dissertation, from 7 to 6 to 7 you are spending some time working on your books, and it frames it out specifically like that for me. And that's how I create structure for myself. I told you a couple episodes ago that I'm a structure girl, and I was not playing. I need that in order to be able to execute successfully. So I hope, that little bit of discussion about how to design, or at least talking about how I've designed my creative operating system to work for me, that it give you some ideas on some of the things that you can do, like the use of, going back old school, using your notebooks, using the apps on your phone for taking notes, voice recording to get things down, and being organized. Really set up a way to organize your thoughts, your ideas, and your creative, your juices and your academic work. Create those frameworks for yourself so that you can be successful and being able to execute in a realistic way. Think about how the rhythm of your work week or your work week in terms of your creative passion, whether or not you're working on a book or a dissertation like me, how do you see the rhythm of your week looking? And think about that so that you can execute on it. And then take those moments to reflect. Reflect on what makes you successful at the beginning of the day and what it is that you're doing at the end of the day so that you can be productive and that you're showing up for yourself. I'd like to close out with a little Prince history. And I want to talk briefly about his legendary ball. And I want to tie that into how the vault with all of his work that he of unreleased tracks and songs and things like that was his creative operating system, and he used it to capture everything: his ideas, his riffs, his lyrics, his full songs. It's a place where, even though he didn't complete a lot of this work, or there was stuff that he still felt like he could go back and work on it later, or what have you, this was his way of organizing his ideas, organizing and keeping track of what he had in the pipeline. So I use that as a way to think about how having a creative system for ourselves honors our ideas by giving them an actual home for them to live. Be like that. Do that. And so again, I hope that this episode was meaningful to you, that you found some value in the things that I discussed today. And I just want to say, please come back, keep joining me. I appreciate each and every one of you for joining me each week. And next episode, I will be diving a little bit further into building workflows that honors your energy. And I hope you join me with that. Thanks again for listening. Thanks again for watching. And I see you next time. Peace.